Alright, so this is for our role play assignment for Dr. Hughes. And this is my sister Beverly, and she will be assisting today. So here we go. Beverly, what brings you in today?
Well, I'd like to talk about my stroke. In January 2014, so it's been 3 years ago, I had a major stroke. I couldn't move my right arm or hand. I couldn't talk for months. I couldn't walk at first. But I've been struggling with depression over it because I feel like I suffered a loss in my brain functioning, and so I've just been struggling with that.
What was your life like before you had the stroke?
Well, I was living in Lexington at the time, and I was working in the nursing home, which I loved. I was a rehab tech, but I was going to try to be a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
I had been a social worker at the nursing home in Jackson. I really loved it. I was starting to apply for jobs like that. And I was walking every day. I've never felt so healthy. I mean, ironically. But just one morning, no warning, I didn't feel bad or anything like that. All of a sudden I had it was ungodly, the amount of pain. In the back of my head, I felt like, but it was really over here, more like when I saw the brain scan. But I thought I was having an aneurysm, and I was. I knew something was wrong, and I told you to take me to the hospital right away, the closest ER. I knew I was in trouble.
And tell me a little more about that process of having the stroke. What was that like for you?
Well, we made it to the ER, and I could talk for about, I think, 45 minutes. I don't know if that for sure, because I remember that part. I remember saying my name and all my information, and with my head killing me. And then I went back to a room and sat on the bed, and I remember them talking to me or anything, and all of a sudden, it was just like the memories all mixed up. I think I barely remember. I remember you sitting beside me, and you were trying to talk to me, but I just couldn't respond. I remember that, and I didn't know why. And I just remember bits and pieces. I remember the doctor showing me my brain scan, and there was a big spot there. So I knew something was wrong, but I was so out of it. That time in the hospital was really a blur, a painful blur of different things.
And when you say painful, was that emotionally painful, physically painful?
It was the most physically painful thing I've ever been through. I've had pancreatitis as the next thing to that I've ever experienced, and that was nothing compared to that pain. Emotional pain also. I know I cried a lot, and I just didn't want to be there, and I didn't fully understand what had happened. So, to my perspective, I was just in pain, and I wanted to get up, and I couldn't, and but I remember people being there. But Mom told me I had physical therapy, which I have no memory of that whatsoever. So, I mean, who knows what'll happen, because I don't remember that at all.
Well, you may not remember what all happened outside, but it sounds like you definitely remember what was happening internally.
Yeah.
And
There was so much pain.
would you say that pain has stuck with you in recovery from that? Do you still vividly remember that pain?
Yeah, I do. You wouldn't think that. It's been, I mean, maybe it's been 3 years later, but whenever I go back to that time, I cry sometimes when I think back to that time, for myself, I guess, for the memory of being in pain, so horrible pain, and just, I felt, it's almost like you feel sorry for your old self. You're, unable to. And the main thing, I mean, so besides the pain, I couldn't communicate. I mean, I couldn't talk. It's hard to remember that now, maybe, but I couldn't talk for months after that. Several months. And so I couldn't tell anybody what I was feeling.
That sounds like an absolute traumatic experience. Being through that much pain and not being able to communicate about what's happening and not really fully being able to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really frightening experience.
Yeah.
So I find that it would be perfectly understandable for you to feel sorry for yourself for having lived through that experience.
Yeah.
So how do you, after the stroke and the recovery, obviously you're able to talk and walk now, what changes have you seen since then?
Well, I went straight to Cardinal Hill, right? Cardinal Hill, I think. Is the name of it. For about 3 weeks, I went straight from the hospital to Cardinal Hill. So, I remember more stuff. I started getting my memory back, I guess. I still remember being in pain. That went away about a week before I came home. For 2 weeks there, I was still horribly in pain. But I remember doing speech therapy and different things I did. I remember doing, I had all of them. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. An hour each day. And occupational was mostly working on my arm, and physical was mostly getting my balance and working on my legs. I was able to walk pretty soon into it. I don't remember how long I was in the wheelchair, but I couldn't move. I mean, I couldn't move myself hardly because I didn't have hands to move myself, But I remember the steps, going up and down a set of steps. I remember that. And occupational, like I said, they worked mostly my hand.
Did you enjoy that therapy process? Did you see improvements in yourself, and how did that affect your mood, I guess, about the stroke?
Although I was still in a lot of pain, I tried to always give my therapy 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw improvement really quickly. I was only there 3 weeks, but I could walk again by the time I left there, and my arm was moving. My right hand, I could barely squeeze a little bit of the fingers. So that had to be worked on, and I still couldn't talk. But we did a lot of memory things in speech therapy. I really liked the speech therapist because considering I couldn't talk, she had a lot for me to do every day, and I really liked it.
So that was 3 years ago whenever you had the stroke. And would you say a year at least of active recovery?
Yeah, it's sort of weird. I would say it took me a while to be depressed, and this may sound weird, but when it happened, even though I couldn't talk or anything, I couldn't read or anything, I don't think people knew how bad my mind was because I couldn't talk to them. But I just thought, I'll go back to work in a little, a month or two, and I'll do all this and that, and it took me a while to even realize what I lost, and even realize what had happened to me. I was like, not aware of it at all, basically. I just thought, hey, I'm gonna, my life is gonna be exactly the same as it was, and a little bit. I mean, that was good in a way, because it kept me positive. It was a while before I felt the loss of what else, skills, and my IQ. I think certainly I have a lower IQ. I could just feel my brain different, and it took me a while to realize that.
Would you say there's a correlation between when the active therapy stopped, maybe a little while later when the depression started?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if I was still going to speech therapy. I may have been still going to speech therapy, because that I did for a while, in Hazard, after I got back. But certainly the physical and occupational was done, I just remember, it was the weirdest. Just one day, I was suddenly aware, hey, I've lost my brain, and that's a sad loss. I lost something. And I realized I would probably never be able to get it back. And, for this past year, I don't think I've improved any, but the previous year, all of a sudden felt like I could sort of, in my own mind, my mind came back a little bit, like I could do more things. But it was sort of a private loss almost. Like, I'm the only not one that felt it. I'm the only one that knows it. I look the same. I don't talk different enough, usually, for people to, hey, she's had a stroke or something happened. So, I feel like in a way, it's my own private little loss.
Yeah.
That,
It's a big loss, the loss of yourself.
Yeah.
What are you doing now to help in your recovery or in grieving with that loss?
I don't really know that I'm doing much. I go to a therapist, but I don't really talk about it much. I should probably talk about it more, because I think I can now. Put it in terms that, it's just a great loss, and I guess only thing that'll get you through it is time.
I noticed when you first started, at the beginning of our conversation, when you first started talking about your life before the stroke, you talked about how you were in a different place and you were really enjoying your life there and you were exercising every day. And then I noticed a correlation to you really enjoyed the therapy process, trying to improve yourself after the stroke. And I wonder if there's some of that lacking that could perhaps benefit you.
I think you're right. I think, there's no reason why I couldn't walk every day like I was. I walked every single day. I put my, we were there during the winter time, and I put my scarf around me and walked every single day. And when I got home from work, and I think that's something that's different. No, I'm not a person who handles no work well. My job has always been my purpose. So a person should maybe have a purpose outside of work, but I'm not that way. Usually my purpose is on work. And so when I'm not working, I don't even know if I could, with my less brain power, I feel like. I don't know how that would go.
What steps have you made towards employment?
I haven't really done anything right now. I was just thinking, just a minute ago, I should go online and start searching for jobs in this area. I'm reapplying for disability right now. So, and next week I think I have a meeting with a person who helps you go back to work while you're on disability. But I don't know, my disability is running out, and I don't know if I'll get it back, so I'll have to try working. But I would like to hear what she has to say about maybe she could help me get there. Maybe there's certain jobs, areas where people tend to go back to work.
Accommodations can be made, and
maybe she could help me. So I'm meeting him with League.
Well, that's wonderful. That sounds like a step towards self-improvement, which seems like something that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
And also, work being a purpose for you, I think we all have the right to choose our own purpose. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying work is your purpose. Depression is a terrible beast, in that the thing that will help us is exercise, eating right, taking care of ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, rest, and none of those things are what you feel like doing when you're depressed. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. But it sounds like you've hit on some things that may help get you out of that cycle a little bit. I know you mentioned walking, speaking with, having that meeting, about going back to work, and that sounds like really good, beneficial things for you that will help with the depression cycle.
And I think going on diet, which I try to do no carbs, and I felt good about it, and I felt like my energy increased. But now I have diabetes and high cholesterol. I just found out a couple of days ago. So you're letting high cholesterol.
I'm not. It's just that you just found out a couple days ago. That got me tickled how you said that.
And so I think, I mean, I need to change the way I eat.
Yeah.
He's coming out here.
Well, I'm glad that we've got to come to those conclusions. And
Mommy.
HIPAA violation.
Mommy.
Normally your child doesn't join in on sessions.
Mommy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Like a stocking.
But I would like to see you again, and I would like for you to work on those self-improvement. And also, I think it's important for you to realize that it's okay to feel like you lost something, because you did. And until you can accept that that happened and feel okay with that, we can't really move on from that.
Yeah.
Walk.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. All right, Beverly, how do you feel about the session? Do you feel satisfied with what we talked about? Is there anything else you would like to touch on?
I don't think so.
I want you to go home and walk several days a week and keep that meeting and then follow up with me.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Okay. Zachy, Mommy's recording. Can you say bye-bye to the camera? Say bye-bye.
No.